Hey everybody, welcome to the shack. So today we're going to do something a little different. Today we're going to do a instructional video on installing macOS 10 on your PowerMac G4. So this video was requested by one of my viewers, and I've been told that maybe I should do some more how-to videos. So today we're going to show you how to install OS 10.5, which is Leopard. We're going to install it off of a FireWire hard drive instead of an optical drive. And I'll show you in this video how to do that and the best way you could configure your PowerMac to run Leopard, which is 10.5, which is the last version of macOS 10 you can run on a PowerPC machine. So stick with me and let's get this done. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to install OS 10.5 Leopard onto a PowerMac G4 QuickSilver. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this hard drive. This is a 500 gigabyte external FireWire 800/USB 3 hard drive. Now G4 PowerMacs all support FireWire 400. So we also need an appropriate cable to go from FireWire 800 to 400. The beauty of these hard drives is if it's got FireWire, it'll work. So this will work on any computer up to roughly 2012, 2013 or so. And even today, I think there's even Thunderbolt to FireWire adapters. So what we're going to be doing this on is going to be a QuickSilver PowerMac G4 running at 867 megahertz. The computer has 1 gigabyte of memory, it has an 80 gig internal hard drive. It does have a DVD drive, so we could install this off of an optical disc as well. This computer also has a Zip 250, and of course, you know, we have a USB keyboard and mouse. And as a G4, it's equipped with FireWire 400 ports. So what you're going to need to do this is you're going to need the computer, which is either going to be a PowerMac G4 or G5, a FireWire cable for your hard drive. Now we're going to use a FireWire 800 to 400 cable. You're going to need a disk image on this hard drive, and I will do a separate video on how to make the disk image. You're going to need the FireWire hard drive, and you're going to need patience. This is not going to be the fastest thing, although it's going to be faster than installing off of optical media. So let's get started. Okay, so right now we're going to cold boot the computer. I have the hard drive connected to the FireWire cable. Okay, and as soon as we hear the chime, we're going to press and hold the Option key on the keyboard. Now this is an Apple keyboard, this is a Pro keyboard. So the Option key is located next to the Command key. Okay, if you have a non-Apple keyboard, it may be in a different location. But as soon as we hear the chime, we're going to press and hold Option. Alright, so we press and hold Option. And this is going to bring up what we call the boot picker. As soon as we see the boot picker on the screen, we can let go of the Option key. What this is going to do is this is going to bring up all of the hard drives that this particular computer can boot from. Now right now you see we have three options. We have QuickSilver OS 9, which is my hard drive inside the computer with OS 9 on it. And then we have OS 10 install DVD, OS 10 install DVD. I don't know why these are named the same, but this one here is Leopard. Okay, and that's the version. One is Leopard, one is Tiger. This one is Leopard. So I don't know why they show up with the same name, but they do. And then as soon as you get the arrow, we can click this arrow here. And from here, it's going to look like a normally booting computer. Okay? So this is going to take a couple minutes to start up because, you know, it's an installer. It always takes a couple minutes. This is faster than a CD-ROM, though. So as soon as it's done loading all the core files, we'll get to the next screen. There we go. So the first screen that always pops up, of course, is your language. So choose whatever language you wish to use. Now I speak English, so we're going to install it in English. Okay? And then we're going to prepare the installation. Now, from this welcome screen, we have a plethora of options we can choose. Okay? Of course, we have the Apple menu, which doesn't do anything. We can quit the installer. The only thing that's going to do is reboot the computer. All right? The big thing is the utilities menu. Now, if you have a password on the computer, or if you have a firmware password, you can reset it from here. Okay? You must know the password in order to reset it. If you don't know the password, you can't reset it. Okay? We also have disk utility, terminal, system profiler, and network utility. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to go into disk utility. And what we're going to do is we're going to erase the partition that we want to install macOS on. There's two different ways to do it. I'm going to show you the way that I do it. So we have this hard drive here called QuickSilver OS 10. Alright? And this is my internal hard drive. As you see right here, it says 74.5 gig. It's a Seagate 380011A internal ATA disk. And you see it pops up there and actually says internal ATA disk. If you hover down here, you'll see 465.8 gig external FireWire disk. You definitely don't want to erase that one. So make sure you know which partition you want to erase. So we're going to erase this one. We're going to choose erase here. And it's automatically going to be OS 10 extended. And of course, if you want to give it a different name, you can. And we're just going to choose erase. Alright? And it's going to verify, you sure you really want to erase this? Yes, we do. So we're going to erase. There we go. So the hard drive is now blank. Alright. It had a copy of OS 10 Tiger on it. I think it was corrupted. So I was having issues. It wouldn't load any apps, and it's just, so now before you do this, make sure if there's anything important on this hard drive that you want to save, that you restore it. Or I'm sorry, that you back it up, not restore it. So we can go here. Now something else you can do from here is you can actually restore from a Time Machine backup. Now Leopard is the first version of macOS to use Time Machine. So if you have a time capsule or any other backup device that Time Machine uses, you can restore your system from here. Okay, I don't use Time Machine. I don't have any backups in that way, so you know it's not going to do us any good. So, but just know that if you have been using Leopard before, this is the first version of macOS that uses Time Machine. That is one of the pros of Leopard. Okay. So, what we're going to do is we're just going to continue from this screen. All right. And of course, you get the legal mumbo jumbo. And then it's going to ask us where do we want to install. Well, we know we want to install it on this drive right here. All right. But before we do, we can go down here to the options and take a look. And this is the other way you can erase the drive and install it to do a fresh, clean install. All right. By a clean install, I'm saying like a brand new computer. Okay. But here you can also do an archive and install, which is grayed out because we have no version of macOS on this drive. An archive and install is good if you are upgrading, say from any of the other versions, 10.0 up to 10.4. All right, you can do an archive and install, and what it'll do is it'll basically save your old system folder, and it'll just rename it previous system folder, just in case there's anything in there you need to save. You can also choose to preserve users and network settings, and this is useful if you're upgrading because then you don't have to go through and redo all of your settings. So we're just going to do install macOS, and it's just install macOS for the first time. All right. From here, we're going to continue, and then we get the install summary screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to customize before we install, and you'll see why. All right. Now, you see right here, it says space required 11.4 gigabytes. That's a huge install, okay? If you're running on a computer with limited hard drive space, say 20 gigabytes, or even on this machine, the stock hard drive on this particular machine was only 40 gigabytes. So 11 gigabytes is a quarter of the drive right there, totally gone just to macOS. And the thing you want to do here is you want to try to maximize the amount of space you have left to install other programs. So what we're going to do is here, we're going to kind of trim the fat a little bit. Now, first thing we do is we go to printer drivers. And we see printer drivers takes 3.2 gigs. That's ridiculous. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and take a look. And we're going to look at all these printers. It's like, I don't own any of these printers. I do have a Canon printer, but macOS doesn't have a driver for it. My printer is 10 years newer than this copy of macOS. So what we're going to do, we're just going to get rid of all these printer drivers, okay? Not only is this going to save 3.2 gigs of space, but it's probably going to save a good 20 minutes just on the install time. Alright, so now we're down to 8.2 gigs. Better. Not great, but better. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go to language translations. Alright? And we're going to drop this down. Now, what I do is I don't install any of these. Alright? I don't speak any of these languages. But if you do, what you can do is you can go back and you can just click on the language that you want to install. Whoops. Ah, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Just like that. So all I would do at this point is install English, okay, and Danish, which I'm not going to install Danish because I don't speak Danish. But right there, that's going to save another 1.9 gigs. So that's almost 2 gigs. So now we're down to 6.3 gigs of space required. That's much better. I do recommend installing the additional fonts, okay? Just why not? You know, it's only 141 megs. It's not like it's going to take up a lot of space. And then if we go down here, there's also X11. I'm not really familiar with X11. I just leave it alone. So it's only 168 megs of space. It's pretty insignificant in the entire macOS install. So from here we can click Done. Okay. And here it says macOS will be installed on the QuickSilver OS 10 volume. Alright. And to begin, we just click Install. Now from this point, all I'm going to do, I'm going to fast forward right to the end, because this is going to take about 20 to 30 minutes. This is where the patience comes in, because this does take a little while. And I'll let you know at the end exactly how long it took. Okay, so now it's done. We cut the install from 26 down to 15 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to restart, and if by some chance you walk away or something, it'll restart on its own. So we're just going to click restart. We're not going to touch anything. We're just going to restart the computer. And it's automatically going to set your startup disk to the new version of OS X that you just installed. So at this point in time, it's now rebooting. And now it should be loading OS X Leopard. And then we're going to have to go through the initial setup. And don't freak out. The first boot always takes a while. After the first boot, it usually boots a lot faster. Although that was actually pretty quick. Now, it's going to play an intro video, and because of copyright, I have to mute the audio. But when you install, you'll hear audio coming from your speakers, if you have speakers installed. Okay, so at this point in time, it's going to walk you through the setup. So we can go through, and we're going to tell it we're in the United States. We have a US keyboard. Here you can transfer information from another Mac. I don't have another Mac I want to transfer anything from, so we're just going to choose no, do not transfer. And then it's going to ask how you connect to the internet. So I'm going to connect through my local network. And we're just going to continue through the internet connection setup. We're going to continue through the Apple ID because this does not work on this version of Mac anymore. So we're just going to continue. And at this point in time, we're going to press Command Q to quit. And we're just going to choose skip, because we don't need to register this copy of macOS. Apple doesn't care. Okay. Now it's going to ask you to create your account. So we're going to create our account. This is going to be my account, obviously. And we're going to choose our time zone. And since I'm located in Pennsylvania, we're going to choose Philadelphia. Okay. And you can either click the map or click the drop-down menu. I've done this so many times I can usually nail Philadelphia on the map. And it's going to say set our date and time. I'm just going to bypass this because the computer will automatically set the date and time later. The battery in here has been removed for safety reasons, so if you have any of these old Macs, make sure you take the backup batteries out. The only thing it really does is save the clock settings for the most part. So, and it will set its own time. So after all this, it should boot into the Finder. There we go. And because I have an external hard drive connected, it's going to automatically ask me if I want to use it as a Time Machine backup. Time Machine is one of the new things that comes with macOS 10.5. So we're just going to cancel because we don't want to use that. Okay, there we go. OS 10 is now installed. Now from this point, we can go up to the Apple menu and we can just confirm everything. So we're running OS 10.5.6, and as you see, we're running it on an 867 G4 with 1 gig of memory. So just so you can verify that I am really installing this on a QuickSilver, there's your answer. So what are the pros and cons of actually doing this? Well, the pros are, one, you have Time Machine, so backups are easier. I don't really find that as much of a pro on a machine of this age, but it's there if you want to use it. If you use your PowerMac a lot, you know, and you like the way it's set up, etc., then Time Machine's a great thing. Otherwise, it's not really very useful. Leopard's going to give you the greatest software compatibility. Any PowerPC software made for OS 10 will run on OS 10.5. There are some software packages that will not run on anything but 10.5. Because a lot of software, this is the Intel and PowerPC transition era, okay? This was the very first copy of macOS that was made to run on an Intel Mac. Alright, now Tiger is the first version that will run on an Intel Mac. However, it wasn't until later in Tiger's life cycle that the Intel Macs came out. So it was actually an update to allow it to run on an Intel Mac. And on Tiger, there's several different versions of the install. There's a PowerPC install, there's an Intel install, and then there's a combined install. Okay, so, you know, Tiger is kind of a, I don't know, it's a mix of PowerPC and Intel. Whereas Leopard was the first version of macOS specifically written to run on both machines. There is only one installer, it's a combined installer, so it'll automatically install either the PowerPC version or the Intel version depending on the machine you're using. Okay, so in terms of that, you have that going for you, that you only need to have one copy of the OS and then it will work on both PowerPC and Intel machines. Okay, now some of the downsides. Leopard was the first version of macOS that did not include Classic. So therefore, if you have any OS 9, 8, 7 applications that you use, they will not run on Leopard. Okay, now that's not a huge issue for this particular computer. This computer is old enough that I can dual boot it in both OS 10 and OS 9. However, USB 2 PowerPC G4s and later will not boot OS 9 natively. There are some workarounds for some G4 machines. If you're using a G5, you are totally out of luck. OS 9 will not run on a G5 machine no matter what. It can't handle the 64-bit architecture of the G5 processor. So that's a downside, and that's a huge downside for me because I run G5 machines which will not run OS 9, and therefore no Classic means no OS 9 apps. So make sure you bear that in mind before you install this. The other downside that I find is that Leopard is bloated simply because it's made for both PowerPC and for Intel. So therefore it has a lot of excess code in it. Alright, whereas Tiger, there's a PowerPC and there's an Intel version. So therefore you can install just the version that you need. If you need PowerPC, you can install that. If you need Intel, you install that. It's a much more efficient operating system. Okay, That's why I like Tiger, personally. And truthfully, that seems to be the consensus in the community, is that Tiger is the best OS for a PowerPC G4 or G5 computer. Because you still have the classic mode, and you have the much more efficient code base that the operating system runs on. So there's pros and cons to it either way you look at it. So choose accordingly. Now, I'm probably not going to leave Leopard on this computer. I'm probably going to wipe it off and install Tiger, because that's my personal choice. But it can be done. It does run. It runs okay on a G4, especially an 867 megahertz one. But I prefer to have Tiger because it runs more efficiently and it's faster. So one of the biggest pros of running Leopard is that if you still use iTunes, the version of iTunes that runs on Leopard can actually still connect to the store. Now, I don't know how much longer this is going to be good for. This is 2020. Apple could stop this at any point in time. Okay? But especially if you like to stream music or anything of the like through iTunes, you can still connect to the store. So we're just going to set up iTunes quick here. And if we go over here to radio, up. Ethernet cable was unplugged. Let's try that again. So if we go over here to radio, we should be able to go in. It might take a couple of seconds here. Yes, my date and time. I forgot about that. So we need to go in here and open our date and time. And we're going to set time and date automatically. Now, as soon as we open this, now you see that it did set the date and time properly. So now we should be able to connect to either the radio or the iTunes store. Okay, so apparently I'm incorrect. Apparently iTunes will no longer connect to the store. So we can just Command Q out of that. So unfortunately that's not an upside anymore. Apple must have cut off access to the iTunes store from Leopard, which isn't terribly surprising. I mean, this software is 15 years out of date. So, but if you're running a PowerPC Mac, you know, especially if you're only running a G5, G5s only have 2 versions to use. So you either run Tiger or you run Leopard, and it's a toss-up. You know, which features do you want on your G5? So personally, the biggest feature I want is Classic, so I run Tiger. So, but that's installing Leopard on a G4 PowerPC. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. This was a requested video. I do like doing requests, as long as they're reasonable. So, if you have something you want to see, let me know. Don't forget, I have a Facebook, Twitter, and a Patreon. The links are in the description. Feel free to check them out, and we'll see you next time.